Trade for Colston Loveland and Ricky Pearsall now before their values increase after the NFL draft. We reveal our buy, sell, and hold candidates for Dynasty Fantasy Football in today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football podcast. I am your host, Michelle Magdziuk. I'm joined by my co-host, Vinnie Iyer. Today, we're going to do a fun little activity, buy, sell, hold. So one player each before the NFL draft. And we're doing this Dynasty Fantasy Football edition. So people who are playing fantasy football all year long with their team, this will help you right now to buy, sell, or hold certain players before the draft this week. However, if you don't play Dynasty, that's perfectly okay, because the guys we're going to be talking about, these are guys that we think are going to increase in value, decrease in value, or stay about the same after the draft. So still helpful information for the 2026 fantasy season. Vinny, who is one guy that you want to buy before the NFL draft?
Yeah, if you look up in the rankings, you'll be shocked where you'll see Colston Loveland. He's actually in the conversation for a second-round pick in redraft leagues. That's how high the buzz is becoming for Colston Loveland. And I get it. This is a team that's centered around throwing to the tight end. They said goodbye to DJ Moore. It's hard to know exactly where the targets are going to go. But again, we have that blueprint. This is why Luther Burden III, you can debate that versus Rome Odunze. But the one thing you can't debate is Colston Loveland needs to be a key target. He developed great chemistry with Caleb Williams down the stretch. Basically took over since that Bengals game where he just went off against the worst tight end defense in the league. And then it was all she wrote there. I mean, he just was awesome the rest of the way. And look, I was a bit wrong here because I thought Tyler Warren was going to be the more dynamic athlete. And look, he was very productive in the first half of the season when you had Daniel Jones. But Colston Loveland is a next-level guy. I think with Tyler Warren, he gets the versatility where he can line up in the backfield, maybe carry the ball if they want to add those wrinkles. But in terms of stretching the field and acting like a wide receiver, I think that's where you get the value of Colston Loveland. So that said, Michelle, I think wouldn't you want to trade a wide receiver for him at this point? Like, I don't want some of these receivers that have question marks. I look at Garrett Wilson, right? They could be doing something in the draft with him. So I say, hey, if they get a number 2, I don't want him. Zay Flowers, another team that's rumored to take a receiver. Terry McLaurin, it could be the kind of the peak we've seen with Terry McLaurin. And Jalen Waddle, look, it's a good landing spot in Denver, but you still have to deal with Cortland Sutton. They could be going after a tight end of note in this draft. And then maybe you try to find a Bucky Irving, try to shuttle off a running back with upside that could have a little bit of interest here. But with Colston Loveland, look, I've seen, Michelle, that Travis Kelce, if you had him for a while, right, you would have been living in it because, again, he was consistently on a lot of the winning teams. If you've got a separator at tight end, that's a big deal, especially if you're dealing with tight end premium leagues, which we're part of, right? So that's another boost, right? If you've got that, obviously you're going to go after Loveland pretty hard. Now, you got to sell it pretty hard. You got to give them a name wide receiver or running back. But I don't know if I can really want to go anywhere else here. Like, I might think about, okay, if I've got an older tight end that can help a team now a little bit more and I got some depth there, I might consider moving 2 tight ends to get Colston Loveland as well. So there are different scenarios where you can do that, but I definitely want him on my team as much as possible.
I will say, like, he's going high right now, for sure. But you can look on, so at dynastyleaguefootball.com, they have a premium tool called a Dynasty Trade Finder. So they actually show you trades that have gone down in Dynasty leagues as of recently. So these are all trades that happened over the last 7 days or so. And you know, a couple of names that you already brought up, like one trade that went through, someone sent Zay Flowers and Bucky Irving, got back Colston Loveland and a 3rd-round rookie pick. Love that. One team sent Josh Jacobs and Jake Ferguson and a 2nd-rounder for Colston Loveland. Let's go. Like, There are definitely ways you can get Loveland on your team where it doesn't feel too much. Even one that just happened a couple days ago, Colston Loveland, they gave up the pick 106. I mean, this draft isn't stacked with rookies this year. So I think I would much rather Loveland than the 106 this year. And that league was even tight end premium. So yeah, they got a steal out of that.
Yeah, you just want to go after players that have upside. I mean, he plays the right position in the Ben Johnson offense with Caleb Williams. And again, losing DJ Moore, I don't know how much they're going to do to replace him. I think they'll get some wide receiver depth, but I don't think that's going to be a big priority. They could also be moving Cole Kmet at some point during the draft or after the draft for a team that needs him. So that would obviously boost Loveland's value even more. But it's already a big separator between Loveland and Kmet. They just want to have two guys that they can use because we've seen that with Ben Johnson, the 12 personnel. So I'm not worried about anything with Loveland right now. It's all there to stay healthy and produce, and we'll be good to go.
My buy candidate will be Ricky Pearsall. I talked him up a lot last year. I haven't been talking him up as much this year, but I still think he's a really good buy candidate before the NFL draft because people are not valuing him much at all in dynasty leagues. I'll go through some trades that you can get done for him that have been done for him. He's just going, his value is just in the basement right now. The thing with Pearsall, he just needs to be on the field, right? His 2 years in the NFL, he never had issues with injuries in college ever, right? And unfortunately, he gets shot right before his rookie season and like literally a couple days before. That's not his fault, right? So throw away his rookie season for the majority of it until the end when he came along. And then last year, week 4, he got the PCL injury that just lingered all year long. I don't know what that was doing for the training staff for the 49ers, but I mean, we got the 3 healthy games from him, right? To begin the season, he was averaging 94 receiving yards per game in those first 3 weeks, behind only Puka Nacua and JSN. Yeah, it's a small stretch of time, but still. And then you just look at the 8 career games, he had at least 6 targets. Pearsall's averaged 93 receiving yards per game. And that goes up to 101 receiving yards per game in the 5 games that were played with Purdy. But just looking at the 8 games with 6+ targets, and you compare those over the other guys over the last 2 years in games with 6+ targets, the only wide receivers, or just the only players that average more receiving yards per game, are Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, and Jackson Smith-Njigba in games they see at least 6 targets. So I do think he's highly, highly talented. He does need more touchdowns, that's for sure. Let's hope he can connect on that. But I think he's so cheap right now because Mike Evans signs, right? But he's 33 years old. Or he will be 33 in August. He has injury issues himself. And if anything, he's just taking over the Juwan Jennings role. He could just be more efficient at it. And then they're bringing in a lot of wide receivers right now that seem like they could be first-round picks. It could seem like they're going wide receiver in the first round. I just can't believe they're actually going to do that. They have way too many other needs, pretty much a hole in every level of the defense, if not multiple holes on a couple levels of them. And then offensive line also needs help. So I just don't think they're going to go wide receiver in the first round. And right now, these are some trades that went down this week for Ricky Pearsall. Someone gave up Tank Bigsby and pick 207. So rookie pick 207 for Ricky Pearsall. That's nothing. Pearsall easily. Yeah. Someone just gave up a future second round pick in 2027 for Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall. Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Higgins given up for Ricky Pearsall. Give me that. Malik Willis and Alec Aominer in a 1 quarterback league given up for Ricky Pearsall. And all these trades are coming out to seem even. So it's not even like it's like these lopsided trades in terms of the points that they're getting, in terms of the dynasty value. But Ricky Pearsall should be valued a lot more than he is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there because I don't think the 49ers go to the background of why it's a good move is the fact that the 49ers are talking about all these wide receivers, but then I'm starting to hear that some of these receivers that they're thinking about, Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper Jr., these guys could be gone early in this draft because what's happened is now that Jordan Tyson's value is back up, right? The Giants potentially take him at 10, and you have the Dolphins at 11. The Jets could take a wide receiver. Panthers could take a wide receiver. There are a lot of teams that could take all these guys the 49ers have been talking to well before. And they're not desperate for a wide receiver. I mean, they have Mike Evans. They have Christian Kirk for whatever his role is. He's a slot guy, right? I mean, he's just a veteran slot. You plug and play wherever you need him, like he can fill roles. So it's not like they're needy, right? I mean, they did go invest something in Evans and Kirk, and
And they just took Pearsall in the first round 2 years ago.
Yeah,
It's not
so
like
yeah. So I think they also anticipated some things, maybe going down with Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, and then of course Deebo Samuel getting old. I think they saw him as a potential Deebo replacement. So far, the only thing that has held him back is the injuries. Now that is a little bit of concern, but overall, I think it's worth a shot to go after Ricky Pearsall because again, he did flash a little bit. We all remember the early part of last year, he was pretty productive. So I'm hoping for that again here. So I think that maybe the 49ers are the wide receiver rumors. We can calm down on that. I think it's really going away from that as we get closer to the draft.
now we're going to move on to the two guys that we want to sell before the NFL draft to try to, get the most bang for our buck here before maybe their price is dropped a little bit. But we're both going wide receiver, so that will be fun. We'll get to that right after a quick break.
All right, this episode, Locked On Fantasy Football, is brought to you by Home Chef. You know that feeling around dinner time when you're starving, maybe a little hungry, and somehow there's nothing in your fridge. That's why Home Chef is the easiest way to have real, balanced meals ready to go without the stress. Home Chef makes cooking simple. You get fresh ingredients delivered right to your door, easy to follow recipes, and meals that actually taste great. No long shopping lists, no complicated prep, and best of all, easy cleanup. There are more than 30 meals to choose from every week, so you're not just stuck eating the same thing over and over. You can also spend less time planning meals or running the store, which has been a huge time saver for me. I like that aspect of it all. And honestly, the meals feel like restaurant quality. It's like having a personal chef without the cost. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering listeners Locked On Fantasy Football 50% off and free shipping on your first box, plus free dessert for life. Go to homechef.com/LockedOnNFL. That's homechef.com/LockedOnNFL for 50% off your first box and free dessert for life. Homechef.com/LockedOnNFL. You must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert.
Spring is a natural reset point, and if there's one thing that can quietly cost businesses money, it's messy communication. Missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number so you can never miss a call, text, or opportunity. You'll love how simple Quo makes everything. Everything lives in one clean thread: calls, texts, voicemails, and the AI summarizes, saves everyone time by logging calls and highlighting the next steps automatically. It just makes your business feel more organized and responsive. Make the season no opportunity and no customers slip away. Try Quo free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com. That's quo.com/LockedOnNFL. Quo.com/LockedOnNFL. No missed calls, no missed customers. All right, let's get into the guy we want to sell before the NFL draft. We both have a wide receiver. Vinny, who are you going with?
Yeah, I'm going with the guy we've talked about this, and this is a Ben Johnson adjacent related with what the Lions are doing here. I'm not into Jameson Williams. I think it's time to kind of give him up. I think he's one of those also flashy guys where you're saying, hey, he might have some values. He's going to blink at somebody and say, hey, yeah, I want to go get Jameson Williams. And you realize Sam Laporta is going to come back and have a big role in what the Lions do, the Drew Petzing offense. What did you have last year? The Cardinals and Trey McBride, a lot of targets. Then you also had a lot to funneling to the receiver that was supposed to be in a slot quite a bit. It was Michael Wilson, but Amon-Ra St. Brown. So what you didn't have was the deep threat of Marvin Harrison Jr. doing all that much in that offense. So I think it's going to funnel a lot through these guys. I think you'll also see Jahmyr Gibbs be a bigger factor in the passing game as well. So I don't see where Jameson Williams can replicate what he's done. And he's a big play dependent guy, big game dependent guy. He's flashy, sure, and his numbers overall add up to something. But I think this is the year that Laporta kind of reasserts himself and the offense is healthy. You got St. Brown. I think they could go after some receiver help in this draft. I just think Jameson Williams probably has reached where he's going to be, right? I don't know if there's much more he can do in this offense while Laporta and St. Brown are on the field here for Jared Goff. So that's where I'm going. I don't know what I really want for Jameson Williams, but I'm going to shoot for the moon here. I'm going to go for people around him that have some upside that I'd much rather have, and that includes these young running backs. I mean, Travion Henderson, I'm not buying totally with Ramondre Stevenson. Quinshon Judkins should have still a hole for the Browns. Look, I don't know if they're going to even draft a running back in this class, so that should be good. If Bashal Tutin is getting a lot of buzz, and even an RJ Harvey. I think RJ Harvey would be the fourth in that group, but maybe going after one of those upside second-year backs where I'm getting a little bit younger. I'm flashing out Jameson Williams. Somebody's taking him, and then I've got a back that I can look forward to for 5-6 seasons, right? Where Williams, again, his career's been a bit checkered with the injury and suspension. I just don't want somebody that volatile on my team, but now's the time, I think, to sell him because he flashed so much last year.
Yeah, one trade that just went down on April 10th in a Dynasty League was Jameson Williams for Quinshon Judkins straight up. They're valued around the same amount of points according to Dynasty League football. So, I mean, yeah, I'd rather have the ups. I'm not saying Quinshon Judkins is going to outscore Jameson Williams next year, but the upside if Quinshon Judkins hits, it's just like Jameson Williams is what he is at this point, right? And if Judkins can be what we saw him to be at the start of when he got the opportunity in his rookie season, and then kind of fell off with the team stinking and injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd rather take the shot on the second-year running back who was drafted highly, who has the upside. Then, keep Jameson Williams, who's fine. He can have some good games, but also kill you a lot of times too. So I'm with you there. Now I'm going to go with Chris Olave, who's very different than Jameson Williams, as he's more consistent, but the upside and his big games aren't really there as much. But Olave's price right now is wide receiver 12 in Dynasty. It actually might be higher in Dynasty. That's in redraft, but it was just last year at this time. He was left for dead in both Dynasty leagues in terms of his value, his trade value. And then also nobody wanted to draft him in redraft leagues either. He was going late. So now that he last year had a career year, this is the time to sell. He was a wide receiver 9 in fantasy last year in average scoring at 13.6 points per game in half PPR. That's very good. That's very solid. But I just do want to remind you, last year was a down year for wide receivers. So same points per game would have put him at wide receiver 14 in 2024. So just keep that in mind. In 2024, he was the wide receiver 56 on average, wide receiver 21 in 2023, wide receiver 25 in 2022. So last year, big year for him. It seems like it could be an outlier year because of how many targets he had, right? And the reason I want to sell him now before the draft is because the Saints are rumored heavily to be eyeing a wide receiver at the number 8 overall pick. And if that's the case, then Olave's value is definitely going to drop immediately. It's not going to be like he has no value, but it will drop. And right now he can go for a lot. But just looking at how important those massive targets were for him, Olave had 9 games last year with at least 10 targets. That was tied for the third most such games in the NFL, behind only Puka and Jamar Chase, who had 10 games each, and then tied with Amon-Ra St. Brown and JSN. Like, Chris Olave was good last year in fantasy. He was not where close to Puka or Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown or JSN. Right? Like, the points per game in those games with 10 plus targets, not even close. The rest of those guys were at 19 plus points per game on average. Chris Olave at 13.9 in games with 10 plus targets. So he still wasn't even getting it done as like this elite guy. Even with that, he had one monster game, 32 points that kind of skewed his points at the end of the year. And that was with 16 targets in that game, 16 targets, but 5 games all season long with more than 12 targets. And then I didn't even bring up I've been talking about this the last couple of weeks, but he's one hit away from being out a long time. He was already considering retirement at the age of 24 due to all the concussions he got during the first couple of years of his NFL season. He made it last year without one. But so for all these reasons, I want to sell him now. And you can get good value for him. A trade just went down. Chris Olave, they got Drake London straight up. I would much rather Drake London. Chris Olave for Ladd McConkey. Give me McConkey. Chris Olave, and you get back 2 first-round picks this year, the 106 and the 111. I'm taking the shot on those rookies. I like it. And if you're rebuilding, you have Chris Olave, definitely sell him and go look for a 2027 first, because that class is even looking better. So all those trades I'm down for. I'm looking to trade Olave high while I can.
Yeah, I mean, also a point I wanted to make with Olave and Jameson Williams is this wide receiver class looks very strong, not just for the Saints taking one or the Lions potentially looking one later, but just overall, right? There's going to be more really valuable pieces thrown back into the pool. So if you want to, say, give up Olave and say, I want to go after a running back instead, or go after a younger receiver and kind of do that to help your chances down the line, I think you totally do that. So, and Olave, look, a lot of things lined up for him to get those targets and that volume. You had Rashid Shaheed. He was traded in the middle of last season. Brandon Cooks was dismissed. At the end, this was it. You had Tyler Shuck and thrown to him and Juwan Johnson, and that was it, right? And they threw high volume. Now you have Travis Etienne, who's a good receiver out of the backfield, to kind of replace a little bit of what they had in prime Alvin Kamara. Juwan Johnson is still there. They'll probably get another receiver at some point. I mean, maybe 2 in this draft, one in the slot, one on the outside. So, again, this is a good time. Sell high, and that's what we're saying with both these guys. Olave may not have the same flash as Williams, but you'll get somebody reasonable saying, hey, I want a short-term fix. I'll give you somebody for the long term, and that's where you can work out a nice deal here with either of these guys through different methods.
All right, let's close out today's show talking about the one guy each that we are holding as we enter the NFL draft. We'll get to that right after a quick break.
Matt Derry here from the Locked On Lions podcast. You know, life insurance is one of those things you don't really think about until you have a reason to. For me, it really hit home when my father passed away over 20 years ago. You start thinking less about yourself and more about the people who depend on you and making sure they're taken care of no matter what. That's why I like Ethos. They make getting life insurance simple. It's 100% online, no doctor visits, no needles, none of that. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in just a few minutes, and even get same-day coverage. And honestly, that's huge because life gets busy. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some plans are as low as just $30 a month. It's just one of those things that gives you peace of mind knowing your family is protected. Take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Applications may vary. Rates may vary.
All right, closing out today's show, we have 2 more guys to discuss, 2 guys that we are holding. We're not looking to sell right now, unless, of course, you get amazing value. We're not crazy, but 2 guys that we think the value is just not there for them right now. Hold it out, wait it out until after the NFL draft, and there's hope that value could come back. Who is your guy, Vinny?
Yeah, this is kind of piggybacking off what we saw happen on the previous show with A.J. Brown, rumored to be out of Philadelphia. We're going to hold Jalen Hurts. Let's not panic right now that he's losing Brown. Let's see what they do at receiver. Let's see what they do in general in this draft, right? Do they add tight end help? Do they add receiving help? They still have Dallas Goedert. You got Devonta Smith. We'll see what Dontayvion Wicks can do, but they figure to add a little bit more here. Marquise Hollywood Brown is hanging around, Elijah Moore. So they're not totally dead here as a passing game, and it could be, again, addition by subtraction. If there are some things with A.J. Brown handcuffing this offense, maybe Jalen Hurts will feel a bit looser, right, to connect with Devonta Smith, spread the ball around a little bit. So there are things to look at, and Hurts has been so consistent. Just be careful, right? You have a guy that's easy every year. I know we may not get the tush-push touchdown breakthrough that we've seen before, and we might have hit the peak here with Jalen Hurts and what he can do. But he's pretty steady. He's pretty consistent. He has a high floor every week. So I don't know how much of that's going to go. I think his ceiling definitely could be impacted by this draft. And you might say, okay, I want to go for a younger quarterback with ceiling, maybe make it work so you can get down to Jackson Dart, negotiate there, right, or something of that nature. So again, hold with Jalen Hurts, but be prepared if things are not looking great. They don't take a wide receiver or tight end of note. Their offensive line is in rebuilding progress. then you say, okay, maybe we've hit the peak with Hurts. I need a little bit more for him to get back to where I want him and the value I could get from him in Dynasty leagues.
Yep, I like that. Now, mine is going to be Giants running back Cam Skattebo. To start off the offseason, Skattebo's value was skyrocketed. It was too high for me, but he's fallen down this offseason. Right now, he's at running back 21 in Dynasty ADP. As a rookie, Skattebo was a running back 10 in average scoring with 14.5 points per game. Now, he did only play 8 games because he got injured with a dislocated ankle and fractured fibula in October, but he should be good to go by this season, by training camp even. And he was extremely consistent too. That's what I liked about him. Week 1, yeah, he didn't get workload whatsoever, but after week 1, from weeks 2 through 7, before he got injured in week 8, I mean, just consistent, 13 points, 21, 12, 30, 17 points. In that span, he was averaging 17.5 points per game in half PPR. Last year, only 5 running backs averaged over 17 points per game, and that was CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, and Jahmyr Gibbs, and Devin Achane. Skattebo was doing his thing, and now people are petrified that the Giants might take Jeremiah Love at number 5, and there is a chance they could do that, right? But I also think there's a very, very good chance Jeremiah Love goes at number 3 or number 4 to the Cardinals or Titans. It seems very likely the Titans are going to take him at number 4. But say he doesn't, I also think the Giants could be looking at Sonny Styles if he's there, or a different defender, an edge, right? Anyone else. So I don't know if they're going to go Jeremiah Love. If you can trade him away right now and get top 15 value for him, top 15 running back value, then fine, take it. But don't just give him away of the value that the Giants already took Jeremiah Love. That's happening right now in many leagues. I'm going through trades that just happened in the last week. Xavier Worthy for Cam Skattebo. What? No. Cam Skattebo by a gazillion. Dylan Sampson and a second for Cam Skattebo. Cam Skattebo all day, every day. And then Cam Skattebo for Brandon Ayuk in a future second. You are already trading him as if the Giants already drafted Jeremiah Love. At least wait it out. And if they do take Love and Skattebo's value drops, okay, then you could trade him for nothing, I guess, if you really want to. But you're already you're not getting anything for him right now. So just hold out, because if the Giants all of a sudden, pass pick 5, don't take Jeremiah Love, and he goes before pick 10, Cam Skattebo's value skyrockets right back up into that top 12 conversation. So don't be silly. Don't trade him for nothing.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing right now is this actual move for Dexter Lawrence, where they acquired the number 10 pick as well. So basically they have 5, they have 10. It actually makes it less likely they go after Jeremiah Love, because now you can address multiple positions. And running back is not as big of a deal. They love Sonny Styles at number 5. I think this lets them go there. And to the point, Jeremiah Love, the rumors have it almost off the board at number 4. The Titans are pretty much, maybe after Fernando Mendoza at 1, the Titans taking Love at 4 seems to be the biggest lock here in this draft. So they're not going to take him. I mean, it really depends on if he's available. If he's not available, they're not going to go that way. I think they might address running back at some point, but it's a weak class overall at running back, so I don't think they're going to force themselves. They know what they're doing, right? Get themselves a linebacker, get themselves a number 2 receiver, get a defensive tackle to replace Lawrence. These are all the priorities they're going to do, because, again, they are set up here. Again, if they add a little offensive line help, a little bit of receiving help, they're set with Jackson Dart here to really season. So again, I think they're smart enough, like John Harbaugh, smart enough to realize I'm not going to go running back in the first round when that's not my glaring need here. And look, I think it was a good smoke screen by them, but they got the trade done that they wanted, got the straight up number 10 pick. So I think now they're eased on that talk, because again, they already made the trade to get a second pick, so they don't need to sell teams on that hard.
Yeah, I love it. All right, that will be it for today's show. Thank you for tuning into Locked On Fantasy Football. We will be back tomorrow to talk more about the draft, these guys, where we would take them in rookie drafts as well. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Fantasy Football so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Fantasy Football ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more, all for just $5 a month. Head to lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to join the club. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.